everybody. Welcome back from break. I hope that you're all feeling refreshed and reset after a few minutes away. You know, virtual events are, like I said at the beginning, they take a lot of energy, they take a lot of your attention. So I really appreciate everybody taking time for yourself as well during these breaks to grab some water, grab a snack, and ultimately just like, get ready for the next session. Speaking of the next session, the largest music festival community in the world is going virtual. How? Well, you're about to find out. During this fireside chat, Juraj, head of product at Slido, and Hugh Forrest, chief programming officer at South by Southwest, will discuss how South by Southwest Online is planning to keep its community engaged. Please welcome with a huge virtual standing ovation, Hugh Forrest and Juraj.
Thanks, Beth.
All right,
hi everyone.
guys.
Really great to be here. Hey, Hugh. I mean, South by Southwest doesn't need much introduction, right? Founded in 1987 in Austin, Texas. It's the best known for its conference and festivals that celebrate a convergence of interactive film industries. So I'm really excited to be spending the next 25 minutes with you here, Hugh. Hugh Forrest.
Well, thanks so much for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Awesome. And you've been involved with the event since 1989, is that correct?
I came on board when we were still pretty small in 1989. It was only a music fest at that point. As you mentioned, we've since expanded to cover a lot of other verticals. But as much as we've changed over those 30 years, what remains constant and consistent is a very, very strong focus on creativity and helping creative people achieve their goals.
Got it. All right, well, before we get started, I wanted to open up with a quick warm-up poll just to get the audience involved. We do work for Slido, so we have to make use of our tool and make it more interactive and engaging. So if we could go to the next slide, which will launch the first poll. This is just to warm up. It's a simple yes or no question. I'm just curious to see what portion of the audience have attended South by Southwest in the past. Let's see how many people we have with us. I'm going to leave it open for a few moments. To join, you can just open slido.com in your next browser next to Bevy and put in the event code CMX, or you can scan the QR code on your phone. And please do join because we want to get your questions through Slido as well, and we'll have a few more interaction polls where we want to get your point of view, then Hugh and I can then discuss. Not seeing any so far, but we can leave it open for a few more moments. Let's see. And while we're, all right, there we go. First people joining. And while we are, let's go to 50. While we're waiting for the results to come in, I mean, the elephant in the room in a way is the decision to cancel 2020. So I want to spend some time during our time here on that. You know, each year the event brings together a community of more than 70,000 industry creatives, which is pretty impressive, from all around the world. But then this year that didn't happen for the first time in 30 years. So I was curious if you could take us back to early 2020 to the point when City of Austin determined that that event could not go on safely, and eventually it didn't happen. What kind of spectrum of feelings did you and your team go through and experience?
Well, I think that, or I know that we experienced the same kind of feelings that other event organizers have felt over the last 4 months of when their events have been canceled because of the pandemic. For South by Southwest, we spend, roughly 10 months working on a 10-day period. And so to not kind of have that closure of having the event that you've planned so hard and so long to work on, certainly frustrating. But again, but I will say that, our challenges here are much smaller than what a lot of people have faced during COVID and during the pandemic. It was a shock, somewhat of a shock in the sense that We thought we were going to be able to do the event and essentially have it as somewhat of a normal year, but as we closed out February and came into March, with safety being the number one concern, the city was pretty adamant, strongly adamant, in fact, that we could not do the event safely, and hence it was canceled.
Got it. And I mean, looking at the poll results, 69% so far have actually not attended South by before. So that's interesting stats. I must imagine that the city of Austin must have looked very different to what it normally looks like in March. Are you based in Austin? Were you there during when the festival was supposed to happen?
Yes, I live in Austin. Austin for the past 30 years has been March in Austin has been this time when all these creative people from all over the U.S. and all over the world come to the city to celebrate spring, to celebrate creativity, to celebrate music, to celebrate film, to celebrate technology. And certainly not having that in 2020 was very, very different. There's really no other way to phrase that except it was a strange given the precedent of always having South by Southwest. But I'll say that 4 months later, with all the many other strange things that have happened in 2020, that was one of them. So strange and difficult things that have happened in 2020. I think for events in the U.S., we were one of the first kind of really large events to cancel, and I think it was a wake up call to a lot of people in the U.S. of how serious the pandemic would turn out to be. So in that sense, South by Southwest often is cited as this as a place where you see the future, and certainly that was one more time where seeing what the short-term future was like with gatherings, large gatherings, no longer safe.
For sure, yeah. All right, and I think we can move on from this poll. We'll bring it up again in a moment.
Suffice to say, there are lots of people from your audience who should come to South by Southwest, and hopefully
for sure,
this conversation will encourage them to get more involved.
For sure, and we'll talk about 2021 in just a moment. So hopefully they'll excite more people. But I'm curious, and just a quick one. Definitely, please send your questions through. I'll be taking them throughout. But quick one from me. So Hugh, how has been talking about what all the weird things that are happening around the world in 2020? How has all of that, reshaped your perspective on how we connect and how we come together at events like South by?
Well, I think we are still very much learning these kinds of lessons. I mean, we at South by Southwest, we have 30 years of experience of producing, managing, creating very, very compelling live events where people are able to meet and connect face to face. And what's been interesting is no matter how much the technology has evolved, how much social media has evolved, how much new ways of connections have evolved, events like South by Southwest are strong proof that face-to-face connections are still one of the most powerful things that we have in our human existence, so to speak. So again, we're not going to have that in 2020. Unlikely we have it in 2021. So we are, essentially starting from scratch and learning how to make a compelling virtual experience. On the one hand, this is a huge challenge because it's not it's not something we had a tremendous amount of skill in. On the other hand, it's really, really exciting to be embracing this new challenge, to be thinking of new ways to do things, to have some freedom to do lots of things that we've wanted to do before but haven't quite been able to do before in a real life setting. So within all those challenges, I'm pretty excited about what we can pull together in the next 6 months and how we can create an experience. And I think that I've said that word a few times, and I really want to emphasize that word. One of the things that South by Southwest has always been very, very good at is creating an experience. So how do we create something online that isn't just a series of events that are stitched together, but an experience that just happens to happen online? And I think one of the things that really gives us a bit of a leg up, or as a differentiator, or a value proposition, or whatever phrase you want to use there, is that South by Southwest has traditionally been this celebration of creativity across many different industries, not just technology, not just film, not just music, all other kinds of industries. And or we can emphasize that and reiterate that in terms of a virtual event where we can create something that has mixes of all these creative cultures that and creative communities that we serve. I think we can create something that's really, really compelling. It's also certainly exciting that in a virtual setting, the cost of attending the event will be significantly lower than the cost was to buy a plane ticket, get a hotel in Austin, buy a badge to South by Southwest. So that's neat. I think it'll open up our event to lots and lots of people who unfortunately couldn't attend in recent years. I also think that it will open up our event to lots and lots of speakers, participants, whatnot, who simply couldn't make it to Austin because of the travel involved. And so I'm really excited about the kinds of speakers that we'll be able to pull in, albeit in a virtual sense, for 2021.
Got it. Yeah, and I mean, I heard this throughout some of the sessions earlier today as well, that really what this enables on the positive side is that, yes, you can tap into communities that previously weren't able to access South by Southwest and other events and other happenings around the world. Now,
yeah,
you
and if
on
you
virtual.
if you think of some of the challenges we have faced in recent years, and in many ways these have been so-called first world challenges or first world problems. They've been of lines to get into sessions, or lines to get into conferences. In the virtual world, we'll be able to avoid that kind of line problem and make it easier for people to get in. So again, that as many challenges as there are in the virtual world, there are a whole lot of upsides that I think will help create a really, really exciting experience.
All right, and when you're talking about virtual, so this year here at Slido, we got to be a tiny part of your shift towards virtual, helping you with the audience engagement element of South by Southwest sessions online. Could you talk us through what those sessions are about and what perhaps you learned through putting those in virtual setting?
Well, first I'll say, don't undersell your role here. Slido has been a huge part of South by Southwest for the last 5 years or more in terms of helping create more interactivity between our audience and our speakers. And so we are huge fans of Slido. For this spring, after South by Southwest, the event was canceled. We did about a 2-month series of speakers. Some of the speakers who had been confirmed for 2020, some other speakers who were not confirmed but have participated in previous years. And we use Slido as the Q&A platform for these sessions. So typically it would be an hour-long session that the speaker or speakers would talk for 40 minutes. In the last 20 minutes, they'd enter questions. One of the great things about the Slido platform, whether it's used in real life or used online, is being able to filter and moderate questions. So we're not ambushing a speaker with something they don't want to answer or something they can't answer. And in that sense, the Slido platform has helped us improve the audience engagement, expand the audience engagement. It's neat when you're in the audience, whether you're in person or watching online, and your specific question gets answered by the speaker. So again, this has helped us a lot. I do think that I will also say that the content we did in the spring, I think we had some pretty good wins there, but certainly helped us understand the curve that's involved with virtual events, and we are hard at work trying to master that learning curve now, and have 5 or 6 more months to March. We will use every single day of those months, again, in terms of or in hopes of creating a really, really compelling experience for our community.
Got it. And then there's actually a question from David here on Slido. He's asking, how do you think about keeping the South by Southwest community alive all year round outside of the event itself?
Well, one of the things that we've done for the past decade plus in terms of keeping that engagement with the community in a more year-round basis is called the South by Southwest Panel Picker. That is a system that allows the community to enter speaking proposals. We typically are in a more normal year. That process would start for entering speaking proposals for the event in late June and conclude in mid-July. For 2021, for South by Southwest Online 2021, that process actually just started today. So if anyone in the community, people who are watching today, friends and colleagues who aren't watching, anyone in the community can enter a speaking proposal for South by Southwest via this Panel Picker app, which can be found at panelpicker.sxsw.com. Again, this is a great way for us to communicate, engage, utilize the expertise of our community, and create that interaction and engagement on a year-round basis. And it's really one of the secrets, I think, to why we've been able to scale the event to the level that we have been fortunate enough to scale it to.
Got it. And as we're starting to kind of think and talk about what event planning might look like in the future, 2021 and onwards, I wanted to bring up the second poll. If we can bring up the slide, please. And I think it's one more slide ahead. There we go. So this is really something that we can discuss once we see the results as well. Will live events and concerts return in 2021? Again, simple options: yes, no, I don't know. And I wanted to bring one more question from the audience. Oh, it's going to be difficult to kind of lead us into this topic. So someone's asking, after we can gather in person again, do you see South by being a hybrid event with limited in-person audience and a larger online audience? What are your thoughts on hybrid events?
Definitely. Let us hope that that in 2022 we have more ability to do a in-person event. That said, I hope that the skills that we learn doing the online event for 2021 will dramatically impact, shape the future of what we do at South by Southwest. So I see that in the future we will have that hybrid model where you can participate in person by coming to Austin, by enjoying the wonderful spring weather, all the great food in Austin, all the great things about being in person in Austin for South by Southwest. But if you can't do that, if you can't afford that, if you can't take that much time off, you will also be able to have the option of participating online. I think South by Southwest is like so many other businesses that the pandemic has does to make a strong pivot. And arguably we should have been devoting more resources to this pivot earlier. But if we can navigate and negotiate this pivot, I think we'll be in a really strong place in 2022 with that hybrid approach of both virtual and in person.
Got it. And we have one more question from David, and thanks for voting in these polls, by the way. And this is really touching something outside of just live events versus virtual. It's something that you mentioned about all the things happening around the world outside of just COVID. And, SABA being one of the most influential conferences in the world, David is asking, how are you working to fight systematic racism with the programming and the speakers that you bring on stage? And whether you have any specific tactics that you would recommend to other event organizers here?
I think that the events of summer of 2020 have certainly re-energized our commitment to DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we have focused much more of our attention on trying to present a lineup of speakers that is more racially inclusive. I think that that intention here is the first step on this of being very, very, very committed that this is what you want to do as an event, that showcasing all different kinds of people is an important part of our mission as event organizers. I think we've done a pretty good job of this, of showcasing diversity in the past, but I know that there's still room to improve here, and I'm excited about the things we'll do in 2021 in terms of showcasing an even more diverse lineup. We've also, internally, we've set up a DEI council within South by Southwest, so we'll have a more aggressive ongoing focus on this. And again, I think those efforts will really compelling results. I've always felt that that there are many reasons to embrace diversity and equity and inclusion, but one of the most important reasons is that we are an event about creativity, and different people think in different and differently creative ways. So the more kinds of diversity and equity and inclusion we can have at the event, the more creativity we can showcase, and the better we serve our audience who is looking to be inspired by all different kinds of creativity. Again, I feel like we've done some pretty good work here in the past, but I know that we will do even stronger work in the future.
Got it. Couldn't agree more. Now, the poll is kind of showing us that we're not sure whether live events will return or not, and with what form. But there's one more.
I will say, Juraj, that I'm less optimistic than your poll set. I think that 2020 is going to be a difficult year. I mean, best case scenario is we get a vaccine sometime soon, but the implementation of that vaccine is going to take time. And I think it's going to, people are going to be overly cautious about traveling, about gathering into spaces that don't have social distancing. So I think it's going to be a while before in-person events, live events, and concerts really return in full force. I'm hoping that's 2022, and I'm hoping I'm wrong. I'm hoping it's sooner than 2022. But I know that I have consistently underestimated the power of this virus since January, and it is a mistake that I'm loath to make again.
Now, we only have less than 2 minutes left. Actually, on this note, I wanted to bring up one thing that I think we discussed when we had a call earlier. We talked about the recently announced Oculus Quest 2, the new generation all-in-one VR, and VR has been kind of the technology that we're all, I guess, waiting for it to finally make its just come to its time. And I'm wondering, do you believe that this will be it for VR, to kind of rethink how we connect at these events and bring kind of this middle ground, perhaps?
As you say, VR has been the technology that's the best new technology for quite a while now. Certainly, reductions in the price point are incredibly important for more mainstream adoption. I think also current events, the inability to travel, is a big boost to this kind of technology also. So it will be. I mean, I think that all there are a lot of factors that are lined up now, such that we'll see this big push to VR. But I will also say that we have people in the industry, quote unquote, have said this for the last 5 years, last 10 years, last 15 years, that hey, we're almost there with VR. So I would be a little bit worried about betting on it now, given all the false starts we've had so far.
Got it. We're almost out of time, but I just wanted to wrap up really briefly, touching on South by Southwest 2021. 2 weeks ago, you announced South by Southwest Online, and what you mentioned just now earlier, today, 2021, panel picker is open from today. Any last remarks on what the community can look forward to?
Very quickly, South by Southwest Online 2021 runs March 16th through 20th. Again, we'll create a very, very compelling experience that mixes technology, film, music, cooking, social media, government, all kinds of creative industries. If you have a great idea for a session, we'd love to hear from you. Go to panelpicker.sxsw.com. Get your idea in. The window for entry is pretty short this year. The deadline for entering your idea at panelpicker.sxsw.com is Friday, October 16th. So get your really great idea, speaking idea, into the system soon.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks, you. Really appreciate you having you
Thank
here
you.
again. I personally have great memories to attending South by, so I'm looking forward to being somewhere virtual or hybrid or in Austin soon.
Thanks to Slido for all its help over the years, and thanks for having me today. It's been a great honor to be here.
Thank you so much for being with us today, gentlemen. It was a pleasure to hear from you both talk about virtual events and the future of hybrid.